Welcome. This is the ISO 9001 Executive Decision Brief, produced by Management Systems International. If you're watching this, you've been asked, or have chosen, to understand what ISO 9001 is and whether your organization should pursue it. This briefing is designed to give you exactly that, a clear, leadership-level understanding of what the standard requires, what it means for your organization, and what the next step looks like. Let's get into it. Why this matters now. The first question any executive reasonably asks is, why now? The honest answer is that the landscape has shifted. Quality management used to be primarily an internal operational concern. Today, it's a market expectation. Organizations are facing pressure from four converging directions. First, customer quality requirements. Customers and procurement teams are increasingly requiring ISO 9001 certification as a condition of doing business. Second, supply chain qualification. Certification is becoming a threshold requirement to bid on or maintain contracts with OEMs, primes, and key partners. Third, regulatory and industry standards. Many sectors have sector-specific quality documentation requirements that ISO 9001 directly satisfies. And fourth, market credibility. Organizations with a certified QMS are simply better positioned when competing for contracts and new business. The bottom line, ISO 9001 is increasingly becoming a market access prerequisite, not a discretionary initiative. Organizations that treat it as optional may find that decision made for them by the market. What ISO 9001 actually is. Before going further, it's worth being clear about what this standard is and what it isn't, because there are common misconceptions that can derail a good decision. ISO 9001 is a management system standard. It is focused on process control, accountability, and continual improvement. It is designed to integrate with your existing business operations. That's what it is. What it is not. It is not a product specification or testing mandate. It is not a prescriptive quality control program that tells you exactly what your defect rate needs to be. And it is not an operational redesign of your business. Think of it this way. ISO 9001 gives you the framework to identify what your organization's quality obligations and customer requirements are, and to manage them in a structured, auditable way. The framework is yours to define within your scope. The standard governs how you manage it, not what the outcome must look like numerically. Risk of not acting now. Let's talk about what happens if an organization chooses to delay. There are four consistent risks that emerge for organizations that defer quality system development. First, disqualification, from customer bids and supply chain qualification where certification is required. Second, lost contract opportunities. Organizations without certification are frequently eliminated from consideration before a conversation even begins. Third, compliance exposure. Increased regulatory and customer audit vulnerability for organizations without a documented quality system. And fourth, the cost and disruption of late adoption. Organizations that build systems under pressure consistently spend more and experience more disruption than those that implement on a planned timeline. The statement at the bottom of this slide is worth carrying. Planned implementation is consistently less disruptive than reactive compliance. Every organization that implements ISO 9001 eventually, and most do, wishes they had started sooner. ISO 9001 as a management foundation. This slide provides context that executives often find useful when thinking about ISO 9001 in the larger picture. ISO 9001 is the most widely adopted management system standard in the world. Over 1 million certificates issued globally across every industry and sector. It is the recognized benchmark for quality governance, and it serves as the foundation that all other management system standards, including ISO 14001 for environmental management and ISO 45001 for occupational health and safety build upon. All of these standards share the same high-level structure, which means that an organization certified to ISO 9001 has the organizational infrastructure, the culture, and the processes that make adding additional standards significantly more efficient. If your organization has strategic interest in environmental management, health and safety, or other management system certifications, ISO 9001 is the right place to start. What implementation actually requires. Executives often assume that implementing a management system standard means hiring new people, shutting down operations, or making significant capital investments. This slide addresses that directly. What ISO 9001 actually requires is executive sponsorship and leadership direction, cross-functional process documentation, identification of quality objectives and customer requirements, and integration of the system into existing operations and review cycles, an allocation of quality time for the development of the overarching procedures that addresses all of the shalls and to make reference to any existing relatable work instructions. What it does not require: new departments or additional headcount, immediate capital investment, or operational shutdowns or process overhauls. The system is built around your organization as it already operates. The work is in documenting, structuring, and governing what you're already doing, and identifying where quality risks and customer obligations need to be managed more formally. Why organizations choose ISO 9001. Let's step back from the compliance framing for a moment, because organizations that implement ISO 9001 well tend to experience benefits that go well beyond avoiding risk. Remember, choosing to implement is voluntary, and to think not compliance, but management system approach. 4 outcomes show up consistently. Customer confidence. Documented quality management builds trust and loyalty with existing and prospective customers. Process consistency. Standardized processes reduce defects, rework, and waste in a way that has measurable operational and financial impact. Operational visibility. A well-implemented QMS creates clarity about how quality obligations are being managed across the organization. And business growth. Certification opens new markets, bids, contracts, and partnerships that would otherwise be inaccessible. The closing thought on this slide is an important one for executives. ISO 9001 is about quality governance and process culture, not documentation for its own sake. You don't need to have solved your quality challenges to implement the standard. You need to have a system for managing them. Role of top management. This slide is directed specifically at executive leadership because the standard has clear expectations about the role of top management to demonstrate commitment. And those expectations cannot be outsourced or delegated away. Executive leadership is responsible for 4 things under ISO 9001. Setting the quality policy, direction, and organizational intent. Approving the scope definition, assigning responsibilities. Providing and allocating the resources necessary. Establishing the quality policy and measurable quality objectives. And reviewing performance via the management review, and ensuring organizational accountability. Usually, a chartering committee is established to lead the development. The note at the bottom of this slide is worth reading aloud. ISO 9001 cannot be delegated as a documentation exercise. The standard requires visible, active leadership commitment. If the executive team is not engaged, the system will not sustain. This is not an unusual requirement, but it is worth being honest about. This standard requires your leadership involvement, not just your signature. Leadership decision considerations. We're now at the decision point of the briefing. Before recommending a next step, there are 4 questions worth sitting with as a leadership team. First, are quality expectations already affecting your customers or bids? If the answer is yes, or if you're seeing early signals, the urgency is real. Second, would delay increase your cost, risk, or competitive disadvantage? Given what we covered on the risk of inaction slide, the answer for most organizations is yes. Third, does ISO 9001 align with your strategic direction and values? For most organizations competing in contracted or supply chain-driven markets, it does. And fourth, is your leadership team prepared to sponsor a structured QMS approach? The framing on this slide is intentional. For most organizations, the question is when, not if. The decision before you today is really about whether you want to implement on your timeline or someone else's. Implementation timeline. So, what does implementation actually look like? This slide gives you a clear picture of the typical path from decision to registration. The full timeline is approximately 4 to 6 months, organized into 5 phases followed by ongoing activities. Phase 1 is the kickoff and strategic planning, roughly 2 to 3 weeks. This is where scope is confirmed, and MSI conducts a facilitated strategic planning session to shape the QMS framework from the ground up. This is the strategic foundation phase. Phase 2 is documentation development, where true accountability must lead, approximately 6 weeks. Your QMS summary document in the past, known as the manual, configured procedures, not all are alike for all companies, and supporting documented information are developed. This is recommended to be accomplished through a series of 3 to 5 interviews with the appropriate departments based on the subject requirements being addressed. This phase can be expedited if selected as a priority. This is the critical path. If document review and approval gets delayed, it impacts the entire schedule. Once completed, it is worth celebrating as it is the most difficult phase. Phase 3 is training and implementation, 4 to 6 weeks. All employees are to attend the ISO 9001 overview training. By the same group sequence of interviews, the implementation effort is applied. The system is put into effect across affected functions. Phase 4 covers internal audits and management review, 2 to 4 weeks. Your internal audit program is completed and management reviews the system's performance for the first time. Phase 5 is the audit process, approximately 4 to 6 weeks total, including the scope audit 30 days prior and then the 2 to 4 day, all depends on size and complexity, registration audit conducted by an accredited third-party certification body. Your selected registrar provides a proposal for this in advance. Recommended to ask for proposals after completion of documentation. Once registered, ongoing activities include annual surveillance audits and continual improvement. The system is designed to sustain and grow over time. This approach has a 99% success rate. One important note: organizations with strong operational discipline and existing quality practices typically complete this path at the lower end of the range. Implementation roadmap. This slide provides a visual version of that same roadmap, showing the flow of milestones from kickoff through to registration and into ongoing compliance activities. You can reference this as a planning tool when discussing timing with your team. Propose next step. QMS Strategic Planning Session. Which brings us to the proposed next step. We are not recommending a gap assessment. In our experience, gap assessments tend to produce a task list, and a task list approach to ISO 9001 leads to a system that is built around checking boxes rather than around your organization's actual strategy and operations. That produces a brittle system that is harder to sustain and harder to get value from. Instead, we recommend beginning with a QMS strategic planning session. This is a facilitated engagement designed to plan out how to build your quality management strategy from the ground up, holistically, with leadership involved, and integrated into how your organization actually operates. The structure is straightforward. 1 day of preparation by MSI, reviewing your organization, your operations, and any existing systems. 1 full day on-site with your leadership team to work through scope, strategic context, quality obligations, and objectives together. And a half-day follow-up in which MSI delivers written outputs, a QMS Strategic framework, implementation roadmap, and resource plan. The investment is $3,250, 2.5 days at $1,300 per day. What happens after the session? Your leadership team has the strategic foundation in place. Implementation begins with clear direction and full organizational alignment, not a list of tasks assigned to whoever happens to be available. Continue to choose MSI to lead the remaining phases through our SurePath solution. We provide a customized proposal, all the way through coordinating with the registrar and being at your certifications audits, recommendation, and next step. The final slide brings this together. For organizations with supply chain or contract requirements, growth into regulated or international markets, or a strategic commitment to quality, proceeding with ISO 9001 is strategically sound and increasingly expected. The recommended next step is to authorize a QMS strategic planning session, and then proceed with full implementation from a clear strategic foundation. To schedule your session or to learn more about MSI's Sure Results program and ongoing implementation support, reach out to us at msi-international.com or call 888-9149-141. Thank you for your time. We look forward to working with your organization.
My name is Diana Lin, and I'm the founder of Management Systems International, development of all of our solutions. For over 2 decades, MSI has helped organizations like yours build management systems that are not just certifiable, but genuinely useful to the business. If what you've heard today resonates, I'd welcome the conversation. Whether you're ready to schedule your EMS strategic planning session or simply want to talk through where your organization stands, we're easy to reach. Visit us at msi-international.com, call us at 888-9149-141, or send us an email at info@msi-international.com. You'll also find us on LinkedIn, YouTube, and our other social channels. At MSI, our focus is simple: rapidly multiplying our customers' value. We look forward to doing that for you.